By the end of this scene, you'll have Claude Code all set up in VS Code and your terminal, giving you a supercharged development environment that saves time and effort. First things first, why do we care? Well, you know how tedious it could be to manually configure each tool and environment for every new project. With Claude Code, we're going to streamline this process so that you can focus on writing code instead of setting up your tools. Let's get started with VS Code. Open your terminal and run. Bash. Code. Install extension claude.claude code. This installs the Claude Code extension, which includes a host of useful features for working with Claude API in VS Code. After installing the extension, you need to configure it. Open your VS Code settings by pressing Ctrl+, and then search for Claude Code. Set up your API key, which you can get from the Anthropic website or CLI. Plain text, API_key equals your underscore here. Next, let's add a task that runs Claude Code directly from VS Code. Open your tasks.json file, preference, user tasks, and add the following. JSON, label, Claude Code, type, shell, command, node, require Claude Code domain. Problem matcher. You can now run this task by pressing Ctrl+Shift+B and selecting the Claude Code task. This will start Claude Code in your terminal, making it easy to interact with Claude directly from VS Code. Now let's make sure you have a Claude instance running in your terminal. Open a new terminal session and run. Bash. npx mcp. This starts the MCP server, which is used by Claude Code to communicate with Claude. By the end of this scene, you should have Claude Code set up in both VS Code and your terminal, ready for action. You're now one step closer to a more efficient coding workflow. All right, let's get you up and running with everything we need. First things first, make sure you have Visual Studio Code, VS Code, installed on your system. You can download it from the official website if you haven't already. Next, open a terminal emulator. This could be any terminal of your choice, Bash, zsh, PowerShell. It really doesn't matter which one as long as it's accessible in your environment. Now that we've got our tools in hand, let's tackle VS Code first. Open up VS Code and head to the extensions view by clicking on the square icon with 4 squares or pressing Ctrl+Shift+X, Windows/Linux, or CMD+Shift+X, Mac. We need a couple of extensions for Claude Code. The official one is called Claude. You can find it in the extensions marketplace by typing Claude into the search bar. Click on the extension and then click Install. Make sure to restart VS Code once installed. While you have the extensions view open, let's also set up a helper extension for managing your Claude API credentials. Search for claude.md in the extensions marketplace. This is specifically designed for interacting with Claude through VS Code. Click on it and hit Install. Once again, restart VS Code if needed. With those extensions installed, we're one step closer to getting our smart setup going. Open your terminal now, and let's configure your Claude API credentials. You'll need a.env file in the root of your project directory. Create this by running touch.env. Open it up with VS Code or any text editor, and add these lines. Replace your underscore here with your actual Claude API key. Claude_API_key equals your API_underscore here. Save the file. All right, you're all set. Now we have everything in place to start coding with Claude seamlessly integrated into VS Code. You can test it out by opening a new terminal tab and typing Claude version. If it shows the version number, your setup is complete. Open up VS Code on your machine. You should already have it running from last time, right? Great. Now let's dive into configuring VS Code to work seamlessly with Claude Code. Head over to the Extensions panel by clicking on the square icon in the left sidebar or pressing Ctrl+Shift+X. In the search bar that pops up, type Claude. You'll see a relevant extension right away. Click on it and install it. It's simple, just click Install when prompted. Once installed, you're ready to link VS Code with Claude Code. Now, bring up the command palette by pressing Ctrl+Shift+P or CMD+Shift+P on a Mac. Type Claude, configure, and select it from the drop-down menu that appears. This will open up a settings JSON file in your editor. You want to make sure you have all the necessary configurations set up for Claude Code. Here's what you need to add. 1. Set up your Workspace ID. This is unique to your workspace and helps Claude understand which files belong here. 2. Enable auto-completion and suggestions. Enable these features so that Claude can provide helpful suggestions as you code. Here's a snippet of how your settings JSON might look. JSON, Claude.WorkspaceID, your unique workspace underscore Claude.enable autocomplete. True. Claude.enable suggestions. True. Replace your unique workspace ID with something unique to this project. You can get a new Workspace ID by running claudecode CLI Workspace ID in your terminal or via the Claude Code CLI. By setting these up, you're ensuring that every time you code, Claude knows exactly where it fits into your workflow and can provide accurate, context-aware suggestions. All right, let's take a step further by integrating Claude Code directly into your terminal. This will make interacting with Claude even more seamless. No more switching back and forth between VS Code and the command line. First up, we need to authenticate with the Claude API using Claude Login. Open up your terminal and run this command. Bash Claude Login. Follow the on-screen instructions. It's a quick process. Just enter your email or username associated with your Anthropic account, and you'll get an authentication token that will let you interact directly with Claude through the terminal. Next, we want to install that Claude/CLI tool globally, so it's available in any directory where you're working on Claude Code projects. Run this command. Bash npm install g at Claude/CLI. Or, if you prefer another package manager like Yarn, use bash yarn global add at Claude/CLI. Once that's done, you can check the installation by running bash clade version. This will show you the version of the Claude CLI tool installed. Now, anytime you open your terminal, you're just a few commands away from interacting with your projects directly. All right, we've got Claude Code all set up in VS Code and your terminal. Now it's time to make sure everything is working like a charm by writing our first Claude Code program. First things first, let's create a new file named example.claude in your project folder. You can do this directly in VS Code or from the command line. If you're still in VS Code, go ahead and open the Explorer sidebar. That panel on the side where you see all your files. Right-click anywhere in the Explorer and choose New File. Name it example.claude. Next, let's write our first Claude Code program inside this file. Open it up with VS Code or just use a text editor and type something simple like Claude, function main, print hello from Claude Code. This is your very first Claude Code program that simply prints out hello from Claude Code when run. Now, head back to your terminal. Make sure you're in the same directory as example.claude. If not, navigate there using cd command. cd/path/ to / your /project/folder. Once you're in the right folder, run your Claude Code program by typing this command into your terminal. Claude run example.claude. Press enter to execute it. If everything is set up correctly, you should see hello from Claude Code printed out. If you see that message, congratulations. You've just verified that your setup is working perfectly. Your terminals and VS Code are now ready for more Claude Code magic. By now, you should have Claude Code all set up in both VS Code and your terminal. You've got the power of Claude's intelligence right at your fingertips every time you code. Great job on making it this far. The next step is to officially kickstart a new project using Claude Init. This command will create a fresh directory with all the necessary files and configurations for a Claude Code project. Let's do it together. 1. Open your terminal or VS Code integrated terminal. 2. Navigate to where you want to create your new project. 3. Run this command, claude init my_project. Replace my_project with whatever name you'd like to call your project. Hit enter, and you'll see some output indicating that the setup is underway. Once the process completes, you'll have a fully configured Claude Code environment ready for action. Start exploring the capabilities by integrating it with other tools and services. MCP servers. Connect your project to an MCP server for real-time collaborative development. Subagents. Use subagents to break down tasks into smaller chunks and get them done faster. Feel free to experiment and mix things up. The more you play around, the better you'll understand how Claude Code can boost your productivity and creativity. Now that we've covered setting up Claude Code in both VS Code and your terminal, it's time to dive deeper. Try creating a new project using Claude in it, and see what kind of magic you can conjure with this setup.